Let us look at a proper sitting position. The tabla has been played for nearly 300 years now. In these last 3 centuries, there have been many different styles of sitting which have come and gone. Sometimes sitting on the knees, sometimes standing, having the drums slung from around the neck. There have been many positions. However, today there's really only one widely accepted sitting position. You should sit comfortably. The tabla should be close to you, touching you actually. The tabla should be close to each other, touching each other. The right hand drum should be positioned so that it is facing away from you. The left hand drum is nearly parallel to the floor, but you notice the shai, the black spot, is off center in such a way that the line of your hand matches the axis of this drum. This is a basic sitting position. If you are right-handed, of course the wooden one will be on your right-hand side and the metal one will be on your left-hand side. But if you're left-handed, remember to reverse the drums. And if you're left-handed, remember throughout the rest of this series to mentally switch right and left. As with many other instruments, there is a basic home position. A home position is the positions our hands are placed from which most of our strokes will start, or if we do any licks or riffs, again we'll return to this position. This is our home position for the dayan. Our last 2 fingers are positioned in a way that it just touches the shai. The middle finger is in the air, and our index finger is free to strike at any part of the drum. What's also important is the fact that these last 2 fingers define a cross. Let me discuss this, let me show this in a little more detail. Let's show a little experiment. Let's put a little powder on. Incidentally, we normally do not want to put this much powder on the drum. Now when we strike the drum, look what's happened here. Some patterns have shown. One of the main things is you see that the powder tends to line up in a line. See how the powder has lined up here? What that means is that this line right across from here is what is called a node. When the skin is vibrating like this, the area in between is not moving. Therefore, the powder tends to aggregate along this line. Now, the line is going to be defined by the position of these last 2 fingers. Our last 2 fingers will always define a node which runs from the center of the drum diagonally under our fingers. It stands to reason that if we have a node running across this way, our antinodes, that is the place where the skin will vibrate the most, will run diagonally. So remember, always keep this X in mind, because when we're playing tabla, we're defining the position of this X by our last 2 fingers. If our fingers are up here, what that means is that causes the position of the X to be here. If our fingers are back here, that causes the position to be back here. So always think of it as an X that is defined by these last 2 fingers. And you see this line right here? There's a tendency for us to do our striking along this line. So always remember the X. This is the importance of our home position. The bottom line is this. The physics of the dayan is quite complex, but as far as technique is concerned, this X pattern guides our placement of the hand. This home position allows us to have our last 2 fingers on one side of the X and be able to strike at the various portions of the other. There is also home position for our left hand. This also is very important. Our home position on our left hand has the wrist resting against the drum. Our fingers here are free. It is always said that the position of the hand should be like a cobra, poised to strike. One keeps the wrist down and uses the 2 middle fingers in order to strike the drum. This is the basic home position. From this strike we can do resonant strokes. We can also do flat strokes. This basic home position is very flexible and gives us a lot of options. Let us summarize the basic points of sitting in hand positions. Sit back straight, legs crossed comfortably, touching the drums, each drum touching each other. If we're right-handed, our wooden drum should be on the right side and our metal drum should be on the left side. Basic home position of our hands is with the last two fingers touching the shai, while the wrist of the left hand is resting in the center of the drum. This is a basic position for playing. This completes our initial introduction to the tabla. You may wish to go back over this tape a few more times until this material is fully understood. When you're satisfied, then move on to the next tape.